Ramses, thank you so much for coming on the AIM podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to do this thing. We've been trying to get this set up for a while now.
It's almost a year at this point.
Yeah, man. Well, it's overdue, but I'm finally glad we got to do it. And not only are we going to do the podcast, but we kicked things off this morning with
We had a nice little kickoff to it.
Bro, that was definitely a nice little kickoff. I needed that.
Nice 10 miles in a beautiful, blissful morning here in Miami.
Well, do you know what the temperature was?
It's been like low 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still hot, but it's cool for Miami.
I was about to say, for you were like, man, this is cool. And I'm over here
I could not believe it was this cool right now. I was in heaven.
Yeah, no, it was a nice morning. There was a nice breeze, and those 10 miles were a lot of fun.
It was fun.
That was the most I'd run in a while, though. I have not been pushing distance.
I cannot recall the last time I ran 10 miles, actually. It's been 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah, it's been a minute. We went out. What was our average pace through the first 9 was around
8:20.
8:20
on the dot. 8:20 all of them. And the last one we kicked it up a little bit for 7 minutes.
Yeah, you said, all right, it's time to pick it up, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna sit right behind you and follow you.
I don't think you were expecting that.
Wasn't expecting it, but it was a lot of fun and grateful that we got to do it. Now we get to do this conversation that, like I said, I've wanted to do for a while. I want to dive into your story and your background before we touch on kind of I think it would be really fun if we kind of go into a hybrid athlete blueprint because you were so skilled and well-versed in that space. But I would love to hear more about your background. I think especially for listeners that maybe follow you or, look up to your content or enjoy what you put out. I think it'd be cool to hear more about your story and some of the things that you went through to get to the point you're at. And then I'd love to dive into just hybrid athlete blueprint and how we can break that down.
Of course. I mean, I came here to the States at the age of 9. So I lived here my whole life. I consider myself a local from Miami, but I came here at a very young age, not knowing English, immigrant, with a single mom, just trying to find my way into it. And then I think what really helped me was football. Football is what really got me into playing sports, working out, being active. I love about football is just being able to be aggressive with people and not get in trouble. Actually get rewarded for being aggressive, which That was what, since high school, I always had a big frame. So my size was definitely beneficial throughout high school. I was always one of the bigger kids. Might not have been the tallest one, but I was definitely up there as far as frame size and strength. And that always played into my advantage. And then, throughout high school, I played every position you could think of in high school, offense, defense, special teams. I never left the field. And I ended up getting a scholarship to play in Kentucky. I played there for 2 years. I ended up having a surgery in my shoulder. I tore my labrum, my shoulder ligaments, everything completely destroyed. And that kind of brought an end to my football career. It was kind of like either keep trying to play and eventually not be able to move my shoulder over my head when I'm 40, or just call it a wrap and move on with life. And when that happened, I went through, I will say, probably one of the lowest, if not the lowest point of my life. I went into a deep depression. I was in Kentucky in the middle of winter. I started, after my surgery, I was on a bunch of painkillers. And for 3 months after my surgery, I was literally just taking painkillers from morning time to nighttime and just smoking weed and going to class. That was what I was doing. I ended up gaining almost 40 pounds. I got up to 260 pounds, which was my heaviest.
That's crazy.
And after that, that's when I was like, all right, I need to get out of this environment. This is not healthy for me. And that's when I came back down to Miami. And that's, people tend to say, and I'm a big believer that, things in your life always happen for a reason. Who knows what my life would have been if I never would have injured my shoulder and I would have kept playing football. I definitely would not be sitting here in front of you right now. So, at that time, it was a very devastating to have that injury because, every kid who plays football, their dream is to make it to the NFL. And it kind of that injury really ended that goal that I had. So to me, it was just very important to realize that, all right, this journey is done, but what's ahead for me, my thing was always playing football. So what could I do instead of playing football? I was going to school for strength and conditioning. I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach, exercise physiology. So when I came down here to Miami, I told myself I'm not going to be playing football. The closest thing to it is being a strength and conditioning coach and training football players. So I reached out to my strength and conditioning coach from high school who he used to work at a training facility where he trained professional athletes. And I told him, like, hey, I'm done playing football. I got injured, this and that. Like, can you get me in one way or another? Like, I want to get into that environment, to that field. And he's like, all right, send me your resume, and then I'll see what I can do for you. And then, like, within 24 hours, he's like, hey, I got you in. You got to start Monday, 5 a.m. And I'm like, all right, cool. Where is it? And then he sent me the address to the place, and this was an hour away from where I used to live at that time. And this was in the middle of summer, and I'm 19 years old. You know, like, when you're 19 during summer, what do you want to do? It's just party every day. And I was like, you know, this is really going to determine, this is a big opportunity that I'm having. This was like during the NFL offseason when they had the lockout. So all the athletes were just training like crazy during the summer. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And I was interning from Monday to Friday for 8 hours during the summer from 5 till around 2 in the afternoon, every single day for free. So it wasn't even like a paid internship. It was for free. But that really gave me a lot of experience and mental toughness of, you know, being able to do this kind of things for free at a very young age, when I really what I want to be doing was partying and hanging out with my friends. I was sacrificing my time, but at the same time I was getting a lot of knowledge and information and hanging around the right people at a young age. You know, at 19, I was able to train over 100 NFL players, you know. Not too many people have that opportunity. Even though it was free, I got to learn about nutrition, I got to learn about training, I got to learn about recovery, and it really gave me a big advantage because as I was doing that, I was still back in school here in Miami. I went straight into school, which I was getting my bachelor's in exercise physiology, but I was getting the kind of experience that people would pay for at that time. And that's kind of how like my whole journey started with fitness. Once I stopped playing football, I came down here and I started doing the strength and conditioning. And then, you know, you need a job because you need to pay the bills.
For sure.
And that's how I got into personal training. And I was like, you know, if I want to become a professional personal trainer, you have to look the part. You cannot be 260 pounds and be a personal trainer because no one's going to take you serious. So I started changing my lifestyle. I grew up eating rice and beans and chicken for lunch and dinner. I never ate any kind of like vegetables, greens, spinach. I think I started eating spinach at the age of 19. So I started making improvements in my lifestyle. I started focusing more on my nutrition. And little by little, that's how I started transforming myself. I could say that I got with Instagram at the beginning, like literally at the right time, as people like to say. There couldn't have been a better time for me to start right when Instagram started. And I just started by sharing my journey, you know, sharing my tips, sharing the things that I was learning, my routines. And people, little by little, they started asking me, like, hey, man, I see what the transformation that you're doing, help me out, this and that. And that's how kind of like the brand and everything really started. It was just by me just sharing my journey, sharing my down moments, sharing my high moments, and it all just happened organically and just without really planning it and trying to make it a business out of it. It just really happened like that.
That's an incredible story, man. It's so cool to see all the highs, the lows, how everything, you know, that you went through shaped who you are and how you got to this point.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit to some of those setbacks or times that you kind of struggled a little bit, if you're comfortable talking more about it.
Of course.
I would love to learn, like, maybe some of the lessons that you learned or some places that you, like, developed growth from in those hard times. Can you talk about, you know, some doubts with depression and, like, you know, different things that you dealt with the injuries? Like, what did you learn in that season of life that kind of helped you grow and get out of it?
So, I mean, I think the injury really gave me a lot of mental strength because it really put me at a very down moment in my life. And it really showed me that no matter how bad things can seem at the time, they might be at a certain time, you can only go down. That's one of the great things about being at the rock bottom. There's no other direction to go but up from there. And I just learned to really believe in myself, and I saw myself at such a low point that I knew I deserved better, and the only way that I was going to deserve better is if things change. If I changed my perspective on life, changed the actions that I took on a daily basis, change, and I just started implementing that mindset on a daily basis. You know, it obviously was not easy to make those changes at first, a transition, but it's all about being consistent. I'm a big believer of being consistent and being disciplined. This didn't happen overnight. My discipline didn't just appear from one day to another. There was a lot of practice, a lot of trials, a lot of error, but you learn from your mistakes. And I'm a big believer that it's extremely okay for you to make mistakes. We're all humans, no one's perfect, but just don't make the same mistake twice, because at that point it's not really a mistake, it's who you are as a person.
Wow.
So
it's good.
To me, it was just, I love all my hard times. I'm very grateful for them because they have made me into the person that I am today. The resilience that I have, the perspective that I have on life right now, it has all come from those horrible times where at the moment I just ask myself, why is this happening to me? Everything has a reason. You might not see it at that moment, but in the future, you're going to see it. Everything is just going to play out. That's
awesome, bro. I love that. We got a little visitor in the pod.
Guest in the house.
Dude, that's really, really cool how you say that. I really appreciate you sharing that. I think there's probably people listening to this that can take something from that and apply it to what they're going through. And that's been one of the big efforts with the show is like, how can we have more conversations about real stuff that people go through? No matter who you are, people go through stuff.
Of course.
And for you to be able to come out on the other side and like reflect back on those times and like, talk about it, I think it's so powerful. And it should like hopefully give you like some excitement because now you can use the tougher seasons you went through now to not only make yourself better, but now to make an impact on others.
Of course, it's all about showing people that no matter the success someone's having at the moment, those people went through hard times. Success just doesn't happen overnight. It happens through hard times. Every successful people that you see, they all, more than positive, they all dealt through a lot of hard times to get to where they're at in their life. And people nowadays, especially with social media, I feel like they tend to see the highlights of people, their top moments, the high levels that they're at right now, but they don't really realize that in order for those people to be at that success, to be reach those goals and be living the life that they're living right now, 9 out of 10 times they had to go through hell, they had to go through battles, personal battles with other people, down moments, and they just kept believing in themselves in order to get to the success.
Wow, I really like that, man. On the fitness side, so obviously football was a big part of your initial, like there was this workouts and training that went alongside of you just being an athlete. But then you talk about this almost like second phase of your fitness journey. And when you got back to Miami, you started coaching and then you wanted to become a personal trainer. And so you're like, I got to make personal habits and changes. So what was that fitness like for you personally as you were stepping into personal training? Like, how were you training at the time? And like, what did that kind of look like for you?
I would say it was definitely more like a bodybuilder kind of thing. I guess just like that was a crowd that I was hanging out with at that time. That was kind of like the cool thing on social media. Back then, bodybuilding was more of like the thing on social media. So I would definitely say that was more of like the style and everything that I was dealing with at that time. The style of training was just definitely bodybuilding and just car cycling. I mean, at the time, I did a physique competition, like a classic physique. I did like 2 or 3, I think, competitions just to see how it went, and I would definitely realize that it was not for me. I respect people that are in the industry, but it was just not for me. I didn't like starving myself, not enjoying myself. I like to think of this as a lifestyle for me, and you cannot make, some people can. Yeah. Props for them, but for me, I couldn't keep that as a lifestyle that I will be able to do for the rest of my life. So it all started with just getting into the bodybuilding, and little by little, I kind of like just got over that and just started doing it, making it like as a healthy lifestyle instead.
That's awesome. And then when in your career did you start to introduce the hybrid element? Because that's obviously how you're training
Yeah,
now,
I think it all
predominantly.
started like 4 years ago, like right before COVID happened. For some reason, I was just like, you know what? I want to try doing a triathlete. This was a sprint. This was an Olympic distance, so it wasn't even that long. And I always been the person that I like to have a challenge, something to challenge me, get out of my comfort zone, and something to look forward to. It makes it easier for me to stay on track and always be consistent with my training, with my nutrition. Once I have a goal in mind, it just makes everything easier for me. So I was like, you know what, let me sign up for a triathlete. This was like 4 or 5 years ago, so this was before hybrid training was even a thing, and I signed up for it, and I never ran more than a mile before the race.
No way.
I never went swimming. I probably swam like 5 times before the race, and I had a fixie bike, not even like with gears. It was just a fixie bike.
My goodness.
And I went into the race, and first of all, once I jumped in the water for the swim, I thought I was gonna drown. I saw my life flashing in front of me. I almost quit. I was like, what are you doing in this, Ramses? You're out of your mind. The bike, I was just coasting. The running, I was just dying. But it just kind of like sparked something in me. And I was like, you know, I as much as it was uncomfortable, I enjoyed every single bit of being uncomfortable doing that race. Because it really took me out of my comfort zone. And it really showed me that I had a lot of things to improve. And it showed me a whole new aspect of fitness that I was not aware of, that I needed to work on myself. So after that happened, I was like, all right, cool, let's maybe get into this. And then as soon as that happened, that was when COVID started. And then I was like, all right, I got into biking. Gyms were closed. You couldn't really do much but just train from home. The roads were empty, so I got into cycling. I bought me a bike and just started cycling. Cycling was really what got everything started for me as far as hybrid training. I started cycling, and then I was like, you know what? This was still prime COVID time, so there was no plan on doing anything. There was no races, there was no nothing. I was just cycling and working out from home. And then as that's what's happening, I was like, all right, I'm enjoying cycling. Like, what's next? Like, what else can I do? And then that's when I slowly started to incorporate running. As I started to incorporate running, COVID was starting to die out. So as COVID was starting to die out, I'm like, all right, races are starting to open up. Let's sign up for an IronMan. I knew I obviously could not do a full Ironman at the time, so I was like, let me just sign up for a half-distance Ironman. And I gave myself 6 months to prep for it, and that's when everything happened. That's when the real hybrid transformation happened, 6 months prior to my race. This was when I was getting ready for my 30th birthday, so I'm about to turn 33 next year, so around this time, so it's been 3 years now. Wow. Around this time, exactly 3 years ago, it's when I really started taking the whole hybrid training, and I really kicked it up a notch and really started focusing on swimming, running, and biking more than I will focus on my strength training. Obviously, strength training is the foundation of my fitness, so that will never go away. But I will say that 3 years ago, I started to focus and prioritize my endurance training. And that's how it all started.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's so cool to hear how, like, obviously, once you got into it, I'm sure you just found, like, different things you loved about it. But that initial thing was just wanting to get outside your comfort zone.
Yes.
And I think so many people can take from that, like, no matter if it's fitness or if it's something else in life, like, find ways to get outside your comfort zone, because I'm sure you can attest to all the growth that you've had, not only in doing it, but, like, how it's applied to other areas of your life.
It applies to everything, you know. People tend to get so comfortable doing one thing in life that you're never going to experience, you're never going to find out what happens once you get outside and open up a new door. So many opportunities could open for you. You could unlock so many new things inside of your mindset. You could become a better person. Not just physically. The physical part is awesome, but the mental aspect of it, to me, there's one thing about endurance training, hybrid training, is the mental aspect of it. That's something that you cannot teach. That's something that you need to have in you. You could make it stronger, and endurance training definitely brings out the best in you because, you know, there's just nothing like being outside for a run. You're on mile 6, your heart rate's pounding, your legs are tired, your ankle's hurting, your lower back is tight, and just the fact that, you know, still got 4 miles to go, you know, it's a mental battle. Every step becomes a mental battle because you obviously want to stop because you're tired, but you keep having that mental fight with yourself, telling yourself that you need to keep going, you need to get to mile 10. Now imagine where you're doing an Ironman. You just finished biking for 56 miles, a half distance Ironman. And what happens after you just bike 56 miles for 2 hours? You have to run a half marathon, you know. That's a very strong thing that you have to put yourself in that mental mindset to be like, all right, I'm going to war. Like, this is not over. This is just the beginning of it. And then once you start thinking about doing a full Ironman, that's just a whole different level of craziness because you're talking about biking for 112 miles. That's at least 5 hours. Think about cycling for 5 hours straight, and then you're like, oh, wait, I'm about to run for like 4 hours right now.
And you missed the swim. You have to swim 2.5.
Mind you, you just swim 2.5 miles.
Yeah, I was going to say, most people struggle with the swim too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, that's 2.5. I mean, once you get to that level, the swim is the least bit of your worries.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's funny, when you described the run, I literally experienced all the things you mentioned this morning. My heart rate went up. I got tired. My legs. It's been a long training week for me personally prior to this run, and I was like, dude, my back started to tighten. I was like, I kind of want to stop. And then I saw you just absolute tank mode, just crushing. I was like, no, I'm not stopping. I'm going to keep going with him. And so it's cool to see that. And obviously, I think one of the coolest things about doing something hard, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, is like once you get through it, you not only grew in that moment, but like you have a whole new sense of confidence. And it's almost like the limits you set for yourself, if you're able to meet those head on and move those limits and keep pushing them further and further, you get to the point where like there's really nothing that can stop you except for you choosing to stop.
The only thing that can stop you is your mindset. Your body's going to keep going. If your mind pushes your body is capable of doing unbelievable things that you never thought you were possible. But it's all on your mindset. I mean, after this run, I'm not doing anything less than 10 miles from here on every Friday. Like, this just motivated me.
Let's go.
I've been keeping it at like 7 to 8 miles. And then after this morning, I'm like, man, I'm going back to 10. This was nice.
I love it, bro.
This was amazing today. So
now that we're kind of talking about mental health and mindset, like I would love to hear your take on just how you've been able to have like good mental health in this season of life as you're doing things. Cause I think this is another place where I'm sure there are people listening that are like trying to figure out how to strengthen their mind. And I think we kind of just touched on like doing hard things, getting outside your comfort zone. But you know, with the elements of pressures and anxieties and like training, overload and work and business, like how have you maintained good mental health, like big picture?
You know, I think mental health is a very strong subject that tends to be put to the side, especially for men. I feel like as men, we grow up being taught that you have to be a tough person, men don't cry kind of thing, and I think that's just a myth, and it should just not be like that. We should not be raised like that. It's okay to feel down, it's part of life. It's okay to feel weak at times. We're all, even the strongest men, to have emotions. We're from a young age we're told to not show your emotions, be tough, boys don't cry, keep your chin up, that kind of things. And I feel like, it's very important to open up to other people and show the people that we're not all perfect, that we're not all strong humans, strong men, that we're all have feelings. And tough times, when things get hard in life, I feel like that brings out the best in you, the best and the worst in you, and it's how you respond to those times. I myself, I'm at the current chapter in my life where, it's a tough time right now for me in all aspects, but I'm just a big believer, and I've always been a big believer that as long as I believe in myself and every single day I do as much as I can, there's no option in life but for me to succeed. You know, it might not happen right now, it might not happen in a month, but as long as I keep putting in the work day in and day out, I believe in myself, and I know no matter how bad I'm doing right now mentally, I just always believe in seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and believing in myself, because I'm very consistent, I'm very persistent, but most overall that, I'm a person that I highly believe in myself, and I believe that I'm going to get through any obstacle that comes my way. I might fail a million times, but all it takes is for that one time for me to succeed, and it's gonna take over all those times that I fail. You know, right now with me, for example, I'm dealing with a million things, with business, with work, with personal life. Everything that's happening at the same time. Everything that could be going wrong, it's going wrong, and I'm okay with that. You know, is it easy? It's definitely not easy, but I know it's part of the journey. I know it's part of the steps that I need to take in my life in order to reach the level that I want to reach. You know, I just feel like I live for these moments that are hard. As much as that I don't enjoy them, I actually really enjoy them because they're making me a stronger person. They're building my mental strength. Even though it's breaking me down at times, it just makes me stronger. Those times that I get broken down, it's just building a stronger foundation, to say the least. You know, these hard times are making me a stronger person every day, no matter how hard. Like some days I just break down and I feel like everything is crashing on me. I know even if everything crashes, that person that's in the bottom of the crumble, it's going to break through all that and it's going to become a bigger person because I just broke through everything that was on top of me, you know? And I try to tell people this all the time, you know, like, it's okay to be stressed. Just keep believing on you. Keep believing on that goal that you have in your mind, because you have that goal in your mind for a reason. That just didn't get stuck in your mind for nothing, you know? God has a way of putting thoughts and perspective into our life for a reason. He just didn't put that in my head that I want to accomplish A and B and C for a reason. That just didn't happen by mistake. That came into my mindset, my goal, for a reason. So every single day I'm going to do whatever it takes. Some days it might not be the best, but I'm going to give it my best. You know, I've been saying this for a minute to myself. Do your best every day. Even when you're best, it's not your best. That's a quote that I heard one time, and it really stuck to me, because we're not going to be 100% every single day. But even if you're giving your 100% of your 50%, you have to live with that, because you're giving it your best. And eventually, that 50% is going to go back to 100%. Now imagine if you give the 100%, then it all just starts adding up. Those small little sacrifices that we keep putting day in and day out, they're going to pay off. And it all just comes down to, that's just going to make you a stronger person mentally. So when we talk about mental health, I think it's just the most important thing to take from this is just to be okay with allowing yourself to feel bad, feel down, but just be able to control your reaction to the way that you feel and the actions that you do when you're feeling at your worst. Because there's nothing wrong with feeling bad. There's nothing worse with feeling like you're down at your worst. But it's how you react to those moments. It's the kind of actions that you're going to take. Are you going to allow yourself to stay at the bottom? Or are you going to become a stronger individual and rise from the bottom and get to the top, you know?
That's so good, bro. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really powerful. And I think not everyone desires like to go through hard things, and like obviously life circumstances are just some things that happen, and it's sometimes out of our control. But I do think the people that have gone through hard times and come out of them recognize the power in going through those times. And so there's almost like this feeling like deep down where it's like, not that you necessarily desire it, but like you're okay with it because you know what can come from it if you're in a healthy mind state.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's all about your perspective. Perspective are really what's going to determine the way you live your life. So start looking at your down moments as a perspective, as an opportunity for you to grow, instead of as a challenge in your life.
Yeah, it's good, bro. I love that, man. It's so powerful. I want to dive into the hybrid athlete blueprint. I've been struggling saying that word, blueprint. But I want to break it down into some categories: training, nutrition, fueling, and then obviously recovery, which is a huge piece of it. I'd love for you to talk about because I know you're really big on that. Let's start off with training. So what is I guess we could really start off with the definition of hybrid and kind of what that means. I know it's become very relevant in the kind of era of fitness, but to you, what is a hybrid athlete? And what does that look like?
To me, a hybrid athlete is someone who has a foundation of strength training with a priority. I struggle to say prioritize. When they make a priority to focus on endurance training. Having a strong foundation in strength training while focusing on endurance training, whether it's running, cycling, swimming, any kind of endurance training where you're working your cardiovascular, it's extremely important. And it's, even though it's something that's very popular right now, I think it's the way that the health and fitness community should be focused around, because it makes you an overall better athlete. Anybody could go out there and squat, anybody can go out there and lift heavy, but what is that going to do for you in the long term? To me, fitness is a lifestyle goal. I want to keep doing it for the rest of my life. I want to be 80 years old and be able to go out for a run. Even if I'm walking, I want to be able to stay active my whole life. And going to the gym, just doing all this crazy heavy weights and that stuff, that's not healthy for you in the long term. You cannot be at a certain age and pushing the same way that you're pushing around. Eventually your body's going to wear down from it. But by you being a hybrid athlete, you get to build a strong endurance foundation that's going to build a strong heart. And what happens when you have a strong heart, you're able to have a better foundation as you get older. So to me, as a hybrid athlete, I think it's very important to be able to focus on your endurance training and be able to accept that you're not going to be as strong in the gym as you might want to be. And you need to, pick. Do you want to become a better runner? Do you want to become a better triathlete? Or do you want to get stronger in the gym and look jacked? Can you do both of them? Yes. Can you be extremely good at both of them? Some people can. Some people have those genetics that are just different, that they can get it through. But for your daily average person, you kind of have to pick one and balance out the other one. For me, when I made that transition, I realized that I won't be able to be squatting 4 plates for reps like I used to before. And it's taken me some time, but I learned to accept that I'm okay with that as long as I'm able to maintain a certain amount of strength in the gym. At least for me, I think genetics play a good role. I always had a big frame. So even when I was training for a full Ironman, I never really lost much of my size, much of my strength. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because I kind of wanted to drop more weight, and I'm just not able to, because it all falls down to the next thing that I want to talk about that you mentioned, which is the nutrition. I think with hybrid training, people don't realize the amount of calories that you burn.
For sure.
And it's kind of hard to be able to focus on losing weight when you're doing this kind of training, because if you want to keep up with the training intensity, you need to fuel your body. You cannot be at a negative deficit, on a caloric deficit, and do this kind of training, because your body's not going to, you might be able to do it for a week or two, but eventually your body's going to crash. Your body's not meant to be put through this kind of thing and be starving, Starvation diets work when you're doing bodybuilding. There's not much intensity when bodybuilding. You're just breaking down muscle tissue, and then you're feeding the muscles. That's all you do. But when you're focusing on hybrid training, you need to feel your body. You need to feel the muscles. So I think people forget about the importance of nutrition when it comes to this kind of training. It's very important to eat your calories, get your sodium in, get those carbs in. I come from a bodybuilding background where I didn't eat much carbs. They tell you don't eat sodium, it's going to blow you up. Now, carbs and sodium are like my best friend.
That's right.
So I think it's very important for people to learn how important their nutrition is in order to become a hybrid athlete, in order to become a better runner, the importance of the time of your nutrition, when to eat, what meals, when to eat what nutrients, what supplements to take at the right time. everything plays a big role. And even for myself, I'm still in a learning stage. I would say that for the past 6 months, I started focusing more on my intra-training nutrition, the kind of meals, food that I was eating during my training. Especially with my cycling, I mean, when you run, it's, unless you're running like more than 10 miles, not really much you could take besides a gel and some electrolytes. But when you're talking about cycling, for example, when I go out and do 80 miles, you're talking about being on the bike for 4 or 5 hours. The kind of nutrition that you need to emphasize on that is very important because, you know, they say the pro athletes, triathletes, cyclists, they're taking around 80 grams of carb and 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams of sodium an hour.
Wow.
You put that into perspective, that's a lot of food.
That is, yeah.
I cannot eat 80 grams of carb in an hour yet. I'm still not there. It takes a lot of time. And just like how you train your body, you got to train your stomach, train your gut to be able to absorb that amount of food and stay at a consistent training rate. You know, I've seen a lot of people, especially with like triathletes, they don't have any nutrition during their training, and then it comes race day and they want to eat all this gels, take all this protein, this electrolytes, all this stuff, and their body's not used to it. So what ends up happening for them, they just crash in the middle of the race. You know, their stomach, they get the jitters, they have to go to the bathroom, this and that. It's because they don't realize, just like how you train your body to perform at a high level, you have to train your stomach to perform what consuming all this food, you know. So I think that's very important to focus as an hybrid athlete. First of all, with your training, to realize what your style of training is going to be, what you need to focus and what you're going to have to let go in order to reach your goals. And remind yourself that you cannot have it all. You cannot keep the same frame size. You cannot look like a bodybuilder and train like a triathlete.
Dang.
There's just no way around it. At first, I wanted to do it, and I realized that in order for me to keep improving as a triathlete, I needed to let go of my frame. And it's been 3 years, and I mean, I still have a big frame, and some days I'm loving it that I'm shrinking down, but some days I'm like, damn, I want to hit the gym and get big again. You know, it's all a mental battle. At the end of the day, that goes back into it. It's all a mental battle, but it's just about being okay and focusing on what you want your ultimate goal to be, you know, and reminding yourself that you cannot have it all.
Yeah, for sure. Can you take us through just like it doesn't have to be the exact training plan you're on right now, but just like a general week of training when you're like in the midst of maybe an IronMan prep or tri prep or, marathon?
I will say for the IronMan prep, those are definitely my favorite. My usual block of training during those days is I'm always going to train legs no matter what. That's just my go-to thing. So Mondays, I always start with a run. I would always do like an 8 to 10 mile run. Before that, it's just easy pace run. Grab a breakfast, take a little break, and then go to the gym. I mean, at that point, I'm just going to the gym for maintenance, for legs. Do definitely squats, a lot of functional movements for lower body. On Tuesdays is when I bike. It's more like a tempo bike. And then I will swim after that, after the biking. And then at nighttime, I will do some form of recovery, whether it's a yoga class, just stretching at home, foam rolling. Wednesdays, we go to the track, speed work, working on the speed. After that, we go to the gym, upper body day, which will be usually like a push and pull at that point. Thursday will be my VO2 max cycling, so I'll bike for like 2 hours, but the first hour is just all out, like killing myself for 1 hour as hard as I can. Then after that, I just take it off and just do core and recovery again. We focus on, at that point, it's just mainly just stretching, a lot of stretching that day. Fridays will be my long run. Long run, if I'm training for a half, it would just be like usually between a 10 and a 13 mile run. Depending on the week, it will be either an easy run or a tempo run, switching it up with some drills in between. and then we'll do our second swim of the week right after running, which will be more of like a longer swim on Fridays, which will be like around 3,000 to 4,000 meters. Saturdays, we do the long bike run. And this is before we start incorporating bricks. Bricks are the thing that will break you as a triathlete. I started doing those on Tuesdays and Thursdays as I get closer to the race, and Saturdays.
And for people listening, a brick is just essentially back-to-back session?
Brick is a back-to-back session of biking and running. So you bike whatever you're biking for the day, you get home, you drop your bike, you put your running shoes, and you go straight into it. You kind of like, you're trying to do reassemble what you'll be doing at a triathlon.
For sure.
Going from a bike straight into a run. And for those of you who have never experienced it and you consider yourself a good runner, I want you to go out for a bike and then go straight into running. Your legs will not feel the same. It will feel like you're running on bricks.
Yeah, super heavy legs.
That's definitely the toughest part about triathlon training is once you start getting those break sessions in, those are really going to break you down.
For sure. When in the gym on the strength side, like what are you pushing heavy weight for lower reps to keep some power and strength? Or are you doing more like hypertrophy for muscle mass?
Just hypertrophy. I keep it high rate. Like I said, at this point I'm not really focusing on building muscle. I'm focusing more on the strength and stamina. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're not gonna build muscle while doing all this cardio. So you can just forget about that. If you're going to be at the gym, you might as well do something that's going to benefit you.
Sure.
So I definitely focus more on higher reps, endurance, while still somewhat keeping strength.
Totally makes sense. On the nutrition side, I want to dive into that a little bit because one, I know we talked about this on the run, but out of all your content, I love your fitness stuff, but dude, your nutrition stuff is so fun and I love your recipes. But take us through like what a normal kind of diet looks like for you, maybe some of your favorite meals or some things that you've seen be really beneficial for your training and your performance.
Well, I mean, I start all my morning sessions with, I like to train fasted. I'll just have electrolytes. That's about it for the first hour. I mean, if I'm doing a long run, I will obviously have a gel. The gels that I have are the Martin gels, which, I mean, they're not really the highest in calories. They only have like 20, 25 grams of carb. So it's not even like they have that much, but it's more than enough for me. And then after that, for biking, if I'm doing a long bike ride, I usually go through a couple gels, a protein bar. I'll have like over 2,000 milligrams of sodium throughout the ride, especially at this time of the year. I'm having 3,000 milligrams of sodium throughout the ride. Electrolytes, simply because your body, especially during the heat, you just get rid of all that when you're sweating, so you need to replenish as much as you can. And then for me, a regular day is usually after training. 100% of the time I have the same exact meal, which is oatmeal with Greek yogurt and protein powder. That's my go-to staple meal every single day, no matter what. Oatmeal with fruits, Greek yogurt, and protein powder. After that, I will usually just have either sweet potatoes with some kind of protein or rice. I try to keep it simple, try to keep it as easy and quick as possible. And then I like to snack. Usually I'll have like whether it's fruits, Greek yogurt, another protein shake, protein powder, and then my meal. One thing that I have really realized is the importance of properly fueling the night before. It's very important, especially when you have a long run, if you have a long training session, to fuel up. The right fuel starts from the night before. You know, the morning off, it's great, but it's what you put in your body the night before that's really going to play a big role. And for me, what I feel like has worked the best is sweet potato fries. That's just my go-to. I love sweet potato fries.
I do too.
There's this brand, I know they're kind of like a little bit high on fat. They're called Alexa.
Okay.
You just stick them in the air fryer. I used to just do the sweet potatoes. I'll cut them myself and whatnot, but this is just so convenient.
Right.
You just open the bag, you throw them in the air fryer, and it's the most amazing fries ever.
Let's go. I'll check them out.
I usually like if it's like for example, on Saturdays that I have my long bike row, I'll eat a whole bag of sweet potatoes myself, and that bag has like almost 200 grams of carb. So that fills me up pretty well for the ride the next day. And then, yeah, I think it's just very important for people to realize that, in order for you to perform at a high level, you have to feed your body, and you cannot be at a negative deficit, like I said earlier.
Sure.
If your goal is to lose weight, believe it or not, it's actually not that easy when you're doing this kind of training if you're doing it properly. Simply because you need to consume a lot of food in order to perform at a high level, in order for your body to recover. And that's another thing, that your body will not recover if you're not properly fueling correctly. Your body's going to be malnourished, and you're just going to be tired.
Yep.
So if you really want your body to really go into the next level, it's all about properly refueling and fueling during your training session. And you realize the better you feel during the session, the better you're going to feel right after training. And you won't even be that hungry. I go on this crazy rides, and I get home and I'm not even hungry because I ate so much during the actual ride that, like, I'm not even hungry, even though I just burned 5,000 calories, which is insane.
Yeah, that is insane. Talk to us about, what is your take on fat versus carb as a fuel source? I know there's a lot of people right now that are like saying fats are a really good way to...
Yeah, the keto something. I mean... Are
you more of a carb guy? Like, you kind of prioritize your rice, oats, things like that?
I definitely think carbs should always... at the end of the day, this is just my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely think people should focus more on consuming carbs instead of fat as a source of energy during your workouts. For the long term, I think it's going to be more beneficial for you, and it's going to give you the right amount of energy and the right source in order for you to properly perform at a high level during your training. And like I said, it starts from the night before. You're
getting ahead of the game.
Getting ahead of the game. If you're someone who likes to eat before the training, of course, it's going to be beneficial, but your body has to digest that. When you eat and fuel up the night before, it's already digested, it's already in your system.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've learned that the hard way, bro. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of times where it's too far gone. Like, that's the thing with endurance training. Like, if you're not ahead of the game, it's going to catch up to you, and then it's going to pass you, and then you're trying to catch up. You got to plan for it. How do you factor in cheat meals? And what's your go-to cheat meal? Like, do you have a cadence, or do you just kind of have some sort of structure there?
I try to, just because I'm crazy in the head, I try to just eat clean throughout the week. And if I'm going to have a cheat meal, it will usually be either Friday or Saturday, simply because if it's Friday night, in my head, I'm like, this is my fuel for the ride.
Okay. You justify a little bit?
Justify it for that. And then, or if it's Saturday, this is like, I just burned 5,000 calories. I can afford it.
Right.
And to me, I would say my cheat meal is just, I like pizza, fries, and ice cream.
Keep it simple.
I could just eat ice cream like 4 buckets, and I'll be happy.
What flavor?
I like caramel, I like cookies and cream, all of them. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to ice cream for me, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I respect that. Have you ever had Crumble Cookie?
Oh, yeah.
They're not a partner or sponsor, but, dude, I can go crazy on a Crumble Cookie.
There's a cookie place here. They're called... Oh, my God, what's the name? I don't know. But I literally got like...
It's so good you can't even remember the name.
2 big cookies like 2 days ago. They had like a special for fall. They already had their pumpkin spice, and I was like, man, this looks good. Let me try it.
That's so funny.
But I had just spiked, so in my head, I'm like, it's okay. I could afford it. I just burned 2,000 calories in this workout.
That's right. Supplementation. You talk about electrolytes. You've already mentioned that. You've already talked about protein. Are there any other products or supplements that you take in your nutrition or fueling cycle that you want to kind of address?
I think those are the main ones. Of course, you have your vitamins that I like to take at nighttime, like magnesium.
Okay.
I think magnesium is very important, especially for your muscles to recover. I feel like if people were to like focus on taking some kind of supplements, vitamins especially, that they should like make a priority when you're doing endurance training is magnesium, zinc. I think it's very important to keep your immune system at a high level. I think those two are the main ones, and vitamin D3 are the main pills, supplements that I take on a daily basis. And of course, I think it's very important for people to take creatine. I think creatine is important because not only is it going to help you keep some of your muscle mass, and people need to realize, even though you're training to be in endurance training, you need muscles. That's one of the things that I've been trying to show into the endurance community, that you need to do strength training. Even if you're a runner, you need to focus on strength training, even if it's just once a week. Building a strong muscle foundation is going to help you prevent injuries.
Huge.
That's the most important thing when it comes to doing all this endurance training. You put your body through so much, and by you building a strong muscle foundation, it's going to surround everything in order to help you prevent injuries.
Absolutely. And two, I don't know if you've ever done like a comprehensive blood panel or any type of blood work, but I know endurance athletes like regularly will have low testosterone or those things.
You put your body through so much pressure.
Sure.
And you're not really building your test by doing all this running. Endurance doesn't really help you build it.
Strength training is a good way to offset that, or at least.
Yeah, so it's a good way to offset that by doing some kind of like strength training. Like I said, even if it's just once a week.
Sure.
Once a week is better than no times a week.
Yeah. You've kind of addressed about, just to make it super clear for the audience, like people look at you and they're like, dude, how does this guy keep all this muscle mass and train at that high of an intensity? The big thing is a calorie surplus and just making sure you hit protein.
Surplus, and people need to realize I only done endurance training for 3 years. I've done bodybuilding for 15, 13 years,
You've just a really strong foundation.
Maybe if you ask me the same question 5 years from now, I might not look the same because it might catch up to me. But, I have a strong foundation that comes from bodybuilding and strength training. This is just not going to disappear overnight, especially because my diet and my training.
Sure.
I'm still strength training at least 2 to 3 times a week. And I'm not in a deficit diet, which is not going to allow me to lose weight. So it's still helping me keep a strong foundation.
That's awesome. I want to talk about recovery. Obviously, that's a huge component of training. We talked about the actual training itself, how you kind of structure that. We talked about the fueling, the nutrition side, which is very, very important. But I'd argue almost as important as both of them is the recovery process to make sure you can continue the cycle.
I will say it's even more important.
Really?
And people don't make it a priority to focus on their recovery. And I just tell people, look, even if it's just spending 5 minutes, I understand that you might not have 30 minutes, but I promise you have 5 minutes. Like, sometimes after I'm done with my run, my cycling, I don't have the time to spend 30 minutes stretching or go to a yoga class or go to a sauna. But I know for a fact I can spend 5 minutes, even if it's just stretching my quads, my hamstrings, and my calves.
Yep.
And my hips, Do 1 minute with each body part, and it's something. I promise you're going to feel a lot better the next day or throughout the day. Whether it's cold plunging nowadays, it's extremely popular. To me, it's the best. Whether it's going in a hot sauna, whether it's doing a yoga class, whether it's foam rolling, nowadays you could buy a foam roller from Amazon for like $10. Mm-hmm. You have no excuse nowadays, and you go on YouTube and there's 100,000 videos on how to do a foam roll. You could do foam roll every single day. Foam rolls are nothing better for you to do than foam roll and stretch. You could easily have a great recovery session in 10 minutes, spend 5 minutes stretching, 5 minutes on a foam roll. You do that 3-4 times a week, your injuries will go away, your recovery time will be better, and your performance will be better. Because when you're fully recovered, you perform better. It's simple as that. I just don't understand why I understand that people just want to focus on the training, the numbers, this and that, but if people realize that if they focus on their recovery as much as they focus on their training, their performance will be so much better.
Sure.
It just makes no sense how people don't see that importance of your recovery. And especially nowadays, you have so many places where you could look up things for free. You know, you don't even have to pay nobody. You don't have to get a program from no one. Look it up on Google, on YouTube. Like, it's all about having the will to make it a priority.
What about sleep? What does that look like for you? How much sleep do you normally get?
This thing reminds me every day. This whoop reminds me every day that I don't sleep enough.
Yeah.
That's something that I definitely work better on. I definitely do not get enough sleep as I should. I get like around 6 hours of sleep in a daily, and I know I should be getting at least 7 hours. That would be amazing. I think sleeping is an extremely important thing, and this Whoop thing that I started using about 3 months ago has really shown me how much I slack with my sleep, because the days that I sleep, you know, and this shows me that I'm recovered, like I feel the difference compared to a night where I slept barely 5 hours. So I think it's, you know, I feel like nowadays it's just hard for people. You know, everybody has a million things going on with their life and stuff. So I understand it's hard for people to get the right amount of sleep, because it's hard for me. So, but I'm definitely making it a priority to start like focusing more on my sleep and getting at least 7 hours of sleep. It's just hard at nighttime. You know, you try and do a million things, you know, next thing you know, it's 12 o'clock. You got to be up at 5. So, but I definitely think this Whoop has made me make it a priority to focus on my sleep. And I think people should really make it a priority. Even though it's hard, you have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can personally, like, anytime I get enough sleep, I always feel way better. And I can tell when I haven't hit that mark of, I try to get around 7, ideally 8. If I'm training hard and really locked in.
Yeah.
Because I look at it like this. I'm like, yeah, people are like, oh, you're not grinding. Like, there's the whole culture of, like, you shouldn't sleep a lot. You should be grinding. But, like, you need to be efficient and you need to be healthy. Like, if you're not taking care of that, like, you're not going to put out the best work. You're not going to think most creatively. You're not going to be as sharp mentally. You're not going to train as hard. Like, those things will suffer by you trying to be tough sometimes.
Like me, I like taking naps.
Yeah.
I'm a nap guy. You know, what I told myself is I'd rather sacrifice 30 minutes of my day that I could be working, take a 30-minute nap, and my level of performance for the next 4 hours is going to be so much higher than me just being like, you know, I'm going to push through this, I'm going to fight it, I'm going to have more caffeine, and I'm going to get through this and get some extra work. Once I realized that if I was able to sacrifice taking a 30-minute nap, sacrificing those 30 minutes, my performance for the next 4 or 5 hours was so much higher because I was alert, I was on point, and I was not dragging through my work. So I personally am a big believer in naps. Yeah. I love my power naps.
Let's go. I love that. All of your hard work over the last few years and everything you've done in the fitness industry has put you in a position to be very credible. Obviously, you make a huge impact on your audience and what you do. On the business side of things, through all of this success, through all of this, you know, credibility that you now have, you've been able to coach and impact and put out programming for people in the hybrid space and in other areas too. What's that been like for you on the business side as you've been able to take what you've learned and what you've experienced and now help so many people?
I consider it a blessing to be able to help people worldwide at this point. I have helped over 15,000 people when you think about that.
Wow.
And you're talking about over 100 different countries all around the world. You know, I have traveled all around the world, and every single place, it never fails that there's someone that they have seen me through social media, someone that follows me, and they tell me just like, hey man, I love what you're doing, you motivate me, you have helped me lose weight.
Wow.
I don't buy your programs, I never bought a program, I can afford it, but thanks to all the stuff that you post, you have given me tips and you have helped me change my way of living. Now I'm living a healthy lifestyle. To me, that's priceless. To me, that's worth more than any amount of money, because, you know, at the end of the day, money comes and goes, but having someone, I think especially when it's like, as men, it takes a lot of like, out of a man to come up to another man and tell him like, hey man, I respect what you're doing, I look up to you, and thanks to what you're posting, this and that, it has helped me transform myself. So to me, I take a lot of pride in that, and it's honestly an honor, it's a privilege, and it's very, it's a very good feeling having somebody come up to you and tell you like, hey man, I appreciate what you're doing. You have really helped me transform my life, because that's how I started this whole social media thing. It was just with me sharing my transformation, sharing people, showing people that I was capable of transforming my lifestyle around. And I'm no different than anybody who's watching this, anybody who follows me. And I want everybody to realize that like, there's nothing that makes me special. I'm just like everybody else. If I'm able to accomplish all this, if I'm able to live this lifestyle, to transform my body, there's no reason for them to not be able to do the same, if not better, you know?
Dang.
Because
so
I'm just, you know, I like to be I'm a very straightforward people, and I remind people every single day that, look, don't get fooled by all this followers, all this crap that you see on social media. Everybody that you admire on social media, they're just like you. Stop looking at all the social media people like celebrities. None of them are celebrities. They're just regular human beings that just happen to have more numbers on the follower and Instagram thing.
No doubt.
That's about it. Just remind yourself that you can accomplish the same thing that you see these people on social media doing.
Dude.
But it all starts with this thing that I always preach: believe in yourself. Because if you don't, it's just not going to happen.
It's so good, bro. I love how you bring that in, because it's so. I've always felt that with you. Like, you've always been super gracious to help me out and to let me jump in with runs with you, and it's just cool to see that side of it as well.
Yeah, because I feel like nowadays a lot of those people on social media, they feel like they're like above the rest, you know, like they're like higher. And I don't like that. To me, everybody's the same. Everybody should respect everybody the same way. Just don't let this whole social media get to your head, because I've seen it from close people. It changes who they are, and they think that they're better than others. They treat people different. They want to be treated different, and that's just not how it should be. And I really don't like seeing people feel like they have like they're higher than others, you know?
No doubt, man. No doubt. I love that. This has been such an incredible episode, man. I've really enjoyed, hearing more of your story, which is really, really powerful, but also just this hybrid athlete, just full-on plan, and hopefully the people listening that are interested in that will take a lot from that. But as we wrap this up, man, what projects are you most excited about right now? Like, what are some things you're focused on, or anything you want to share about some fun stuff you're working on?
Besides all the growth that we're doing with Royalty, the supplement brand, it's just constant grind. We're coming out with new products soon. You know, this has been a product that's been on for the past 4 or 5 years. That's my baby. At the moment, I'm currently working on a new project that's been going for a little over a year. And for the past 6 to 8 months, I've been, literally this whole year, been locked in, like, tunnel vision with this project. After this, I'm literally going straight back into this. We're in the process of releasing a new fitness app. It's been an app that I really feel it's going to change the game. It's going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of people, because we put in a lot of work into this, making sure that it's going to be for everybody, help everybody reach their fitness goals, and it's going to help people connect and create a strong community, because it makes it easier for you to reach your goals once you have a supportive community around you. You know, we as men, we tend to be like, oh, I can do things on my own, I'm a lone wolf, this and that. But once you have a strong community around you, it makes the journey so much enjoyable. So I feel like this app is really going to bring that together. It's going to bring a strong community that's going to be properly coached, properly guided, with a strong foundation of workouts, meal plans, and the right tools and information to help them and give them the right path to success. I'm also going to be doing a whole rebranding of my fitness brand, which I'll announce soon. But this has been something that I've been wanting to do for the past 2-3 years. It was just about finding the right people, the right team, and it's just a lot of work. It's definitely more work than I thought that it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, the amount of work. It has brought in a lot of stress, a lot of problems, but like we talked about earlier, you know, it's all for a reason, and that's just going to be worth it, you know. Yep. Every single day I just tell myself, all this stress, all this troubles, everything that's happening right now, it's going to be worth it. So right now we are like 4 weeks away from the launch. Feels like it's been years working leading up to this moment. It's been endless amount of hours, but it's close here, and that's going to be my new baby. So
wow,
I'm excited.
Yeah, congratulations, man. That's really exciting. And I know just the way you are, your character, how hard you work at everything. I'm sure you put in that same amount of effort into this. So I know it's going to crush. And I'm excited to see the impact because I know it's going to help a lot of people too, which is really cool.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be different. We're going to definitely make an impact. So I'm excited for that.
Let's go, man. As we wrap this up, final question for you. We love to, we've been really fortunate to bring on some incredible guests to the show that all come from varying backgrounds and have a lot of ambition. If you have one piece of advice that you could just leave, our audience with, something that you may have learned through your life, through hard seasons, through good seasons, what is that one thing that you think, just reflecting on your personal experience in life, that you want to give to someone else that can help them?
I'll make this easy and simple. Actually, I have a tattoo here on the side of my arm that says, "Tomorrow isn't promised, so live for the moment." It's, to me, make every day count. To keep it simple is make every day count and make the best out of it and give it your best like it's your last. You never know what's ahead for you tomorrow, so live your life, accomplish everything you want, live out your dreams no matter how crazy it seems. Do the things that people might say are crazy. They might call you dumb for it, but if you believe in it, go for it. Stop living your life based off a judgment of others and do what makes you happy. Believe in yourself and do what makes you happy, and you will create the life that you want. It all comes down to those simple things.
Let's go. Dude, so grateful for you, man. So grateful for our friendship. And, dude, it's been so fun to get to know you over the last few years and just see all your growth and your impact. And I just really appreciate you coming on the show and letting me crush some miles with you this morning.
Thank you. It was an honor. Like I told you earlier, you're literally the only person I have ever done runs with.
That's so fun.
I literally just always run by myself, so it's nice when you come into town and we get to crush some miles.
Always, brother. We'll keep doing it, man. You're the man.
Sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, brother.
This is dope.
Thank you.